The other one, the last one here, because I'm not counting Donald Trump, is Kelly Preston and John Travolta. They really try. They are obviously told to do ridiculous mafia caricatures, which they do. They're fun and entertaining. It's ridiculous performance, but John Travolta knows how to play like greasy Italian, stereotype. He's done that in the '70s, and this is probably his pinnacle of his greasy Italian New Jersey boy roles. It's just wow. I mean, I can't believe it. Yeah, this has to be seen to be believed. So I'm not going to give it to them because it was so bad it's good. Even though it may have been worse than Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, but Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, aside from the accents, have no redeeming quality. So they definitely deserve worst screen combo. Next up is worst prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel. This is always a fun category. It's unique to the Razzies. There really aren't any other film awards that have like worst prequels and sequels, and I'm glad they combine them all into one because Hollywood just has a tendency to rehash everything and just recycle the same stuff over and over again. It's really become a big problem. So it's a great idea to give this an award because Hollywood needs to stop doing this and think creatively. But the nominees are Death of a Nation. Again, I'm going to eliminate that from consideration. I'm not going to discuss it further. You know why. Death Wish, Holmes and Watson, The Meg, and Robin Hood. So let's go over the other four. Death Wish is a decent movie. It's not as good as the '74 original. If you listen to my separate review, the 1974 original is better, but it's decent in its own right. It doesn't deserve worst remake. It was a decent remake. I've seen really horrible remakes. This is not it. Holmes and Watson. Again, you know how I feel about Holmes and Watson. This movie is god-awful. And the thing about Holmes and Watson, it's really the first time they've done a parody of Sherlock Holmes in a while, like a live-action parody. Most of the recent Sherlock Holmes revival has been some serious attempts to actually adapt Sherlock Holmes, not like mock it. But you're not even trying here to come up with a decent mockery. The Meg is on the category for being a ripoff of Jaws. I can see that. And again, it really is. I mean, there's films that embrace being a ripoff of Jaws. This film kind of wants you to think it's original and it's not. It's just lousy. And then Robin Hood. Robin Hood nominated for worst remake. Here's the thing. They just remade Robin Hood in 2010. They're going to remake it again. Stop remaking it. Just stop. It was like 8 years earlier. And a lot of these Robin Hood movies are lousy, but you can't come up with anything good. They make like Little John is played by Jamie Foxx now. That's just ridiculous. It used to be like, oh, we need diversity, so they kind of add like a black character in and say, okay, well, it's the more. And I think that was like fairly recent, like the last couple of decades. But now we're just going to make Little John into Jamie Foxx. It's ridiculous. Okay, you want to add him more, but don't just change his character to something that doesn't fit at all. It's for the sake of diversity. And I actually like some of his scenes, like when he trains Robin Hood how to shoot arrows, but it was horrible. It was overall, you just can't watch this movie. So my vote, although that was terrible as well, the worst one by far for worst prequel, sequel, remake is got to be Robin Hood. And I was tempted to give it to Sherlock Holmes because it was just Holmes and Watson is awful. I've given them all these other categories, but Robin Hood, just because they keep remaking it and they're just like, at this point, it's like, give it up already. I got to give it to Robin Hood. It's going to win this category by far. So let's look at the next one. Worst supporting actor. We have 5 categories. Chris Ludacris Bridges, the rapper Ludacris. He's up for Show Dogs for being Max. Jamie Foxx and Robin Hood as Little John, which I just discussed. Oh god, it was terrible. Joe McHale in Happy Time Murders as Special Agent Campbell. John C. Reilly in Holmes and Watson as Dr. John Watson. And Justice Smith in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom as Franklin Webb. Now again, I watched all these movies. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I don't know, it got lousy reviews. It's actually a decent movie, but Justice Smith as Franklin Webb, he's pretty much playing himself, and he was one of the more annoying characters. Like, you're supposed to root for this guy. He's obviously one of the protagonists. I'm like, okay, I don't like this guy. He's annoying. He's a little obnoxious twerp, so he probably deserved worst supporting actor for being in the movie. I don't think his acting chops are really anything special. He's really not doing anything besides playing himself. John C. Reilly, again, we've discussed. I'm not going to go over it again. I like him as an actor. I did not like him in this. Joe McHale in Happy Time Murders, Special Agent Campbell. I watched the movie and I watched it in detail. I was paying attention. I don't really remember his performance that well, and it didn't stand out as anything bad or anything particularly special. Jamie Foxx as Robin Hood as Little John. Yeah, again, he had some good scenes, but this was just terribly written and terribly performed. It was completely out of character. This is not Little John. And then Chris Bridges. You hire a rapper to be in a movie, and a lot of times I object because I'm like, this rapper, he's not an actor, he's a rapper. Okay, he's going to do his thing. And yeah, he plays himself, which he's not even trying here. He's just, doing this material he's giving away. He's going to roll with this. And I'm like, the movie was stupid. His performance was lame. It wasn't horrible, 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 but there's no acting talent here, to say. So my vote for worst supporting actor, I had to give it to Jamie Foxx, who again is just completely inappropriate for this role and should not have taken it. I'm sorry. Worst supporting actress. The nominees are Kellyanne Conway for Fahrenheit 11/9 as herself. I'm going to eliminate that one from consideration. Sorry. Maria Gay Harden, 50 Shades Freed as Grace. I guess she plays the mom. I had to go back and watch that because I wasn't paying attention the first time. The movie got boring. Kelly Preston as Gotti's Victoria Gotti. Jez Sinclair in Slender Man as Chloe. And Melania Trump as Fahrenheit 11/9 as herself. Okay. The first lady of, she's kind of Donald Trump's trophy wife, but you're getting eliminated. I don't count real life things in here. So, going from the three we got here. Again, 50 Shades Freed, I was tempted to give it to her because I had to go back and watch it, and she's really, same thing, the biggest problem with this movie is it's bland and boring. She is like a non-entity in this movie, her character is supposed to play an important role in the story, and I don't know, it wasn't doing anything for me. Then Kelly Preston as Gotti, again, she put 1,000% into this role, playing this mafia wife, like it's The Sopranos or something, it's supposed to be a serious story, it's not. And Kelly Preston, I can't say she was bad, but she definitely deserves worst supporting actress just for the way the material is handled. And then Jez Sinclair, I don't know why she's nominated. I watched Slender Man. It's a lousy movie. The only thing is like the last 5 minutes look like a legitimate horror movie. Aside from that, lousy. But her performance is not bad. I'm like, what is it with it? She's the one black character. It sounds like I don't want to accuse these guys of racism, but you don't like her because she's black. I didn't understand it because the other two girls were fine. She was fine too. There's a scene where she's like possessed or something. I don't want to give away spoilers if you haven't seen them. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and give away spoilers because you need to watch this movie. But she was fine. She's a legitimate acting performance. So anyway, I brainstorming this one. I gave it to Marsha Gay Harden. I don't know how to pronounce his name for 50 Shades Freed. Because it's the same thing. Her performance had no redeeming qualities at all. It's not that it's terrible, but just complete waste of time. Can we please have some passion and drama here? Can you at least act in a movie, just not be there as like a prop? Okay. So now we're up to the last four. One's the big awards. So we have worst actor. We have Johnny Depp in Sherlock Gnomes as Sherlock Gnomes. I've already gone over this. His performance was decent. Okay. Actually, it was pretty good. Will Ferrell in Holmes and Watson as Sherlock Holmes. John Gotti as John Travolta as John Gotti and Gotti. Donald Trump as himself in Death Nation and Fahrenheit 11/9. And Bruce Willis in Death Wish as Paul Kersey. Okay. Eliminate the Trump. So we got the four other ones. Johnny Depp, I'm not going to give it to. His performance is good. Will Ferrell in Holmes and Watson was god-awful. And I can't stand Will Ferrell in most of his movies. And this one, something I was done with this movie after like 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to, people are like, oh, you just, like I hate on Star Trek Discovery, like, you're going to hate it no matter what. His accent as a British gentleman was well done. Much better than I could have done. So Will Ferrell, props to you. Good job, buddy. But aside from your accent doing a good job as a 19th century British gentleman, the rest of your performance is god-awful, okay? And you're not funny. And then the next one, John Travolta is Gotti, who again put 1,000% into this. He's completely, probably his best stock New Jersey slimeball Italian performance he's ever done, but he deserved worst actress. Bruce Willis in Death Wish is interesting circumstance because you wouldn't think like that would work. Like a lot of people objected, like, well, Bruce Willis is already an action star. He shouldn't be playing like this father that's like a low-key guy that goes on a rampage. And like, I agree with that premise. It doesn't sound like it would work as casting, and it actually does. His performance, again, is not the best Bruce Willis performance, but it was good. He played a doctor that loses his wife and child, and I really felt for the guy, and I understood his motivations. It's a good Bruce Willis movie, considering he's done a lot of crap in the past. I think like people say Die Hard was wonderful, and then they hated the fifth Die Hard, and I'm like, it was okay, but the fifth Die Hard, got horrible reviews. Death Wish was probably better in comparison. I don't think he deserved worst actor. So the people that did deserve worst actor, it's got to be Will Ferrell. You suck, Will Ferrell, and I'm tired of your movies. Your overgrown man-child act. It's tiresome back in 1998, let alone 20 years later. Okay, worst actress. We got Jennifer Gardner in Peppermint as Riley North, Amber Heard in London Fields as Nicola Six, Melissa McCarthy in Happy Time Murders as Detective Connie Edwards, Helen Mirren in Winchester as Sarah Winchester, Amanda Seyfried in The Clapper as Judy. So let's look at these. Again, I watched all these movies. Okay, Peppermint. Peppermint is funny. It's kind of like Death Wish. It's like this movie where it's like a revenge story where this woman was like happily and just, with her husband and daughter, she suffers this tragedy where they're killed and she snaps and goes on a shooting spree. It wasn't as good as the remake of Death Wish. I kind of got bored with it, but Jennifer Gardner's performance was solid in this movie. There's nothing wrong with her performance. She doesn't deserve this nomination. Again, I lost interest in the movie after like half an hour. I wasn't invested in it anymore, but if you're into that kind of thing, she's fine in this movie. Amber Heard as London Fields, Nicola Six. Didn't like the movie. The movie's like hard to follow. It's kind of like they basically had her play this femme fatale type character, and she's trying. She really is. It's not working, but I mean, I give her efforts for trying to put some effort into it, and she's not able to sell it, but she's trying. Overall, though, the biggest problem, I think, she was given this script. The actors got to work with what they're given, and she was not given good material. Melissa McCarthy, Detective Connie Edwards. Again, I actually liked the movie. I hate having to criticize it because I don't think it deserved all these Razzie nominations. It's could have been better, but it had some good parts. It's not totally, a waste of time. But her character I did not like. Couldn't stand her. She's annoying. She's obnoxious. She's not funny. She doesn't play well off the puppet. They don't have good chemistry. And, again, I haven't seen her other movies, but looking at stuff like Ghostbusters 2016, I'm thinking, I probably don't like this actress. I probably don't like her in movies. I just, I'm not eager to see more Melissa McCarthy movies based on what I've seen so far. Helen Mirren Winchester. Again, I was disappointed by Winchester. It's a lousy movie, but her performance as Sarah Winchester was quite good. Quite real to life. I think the real Sarah Winchester is pretty much like the way Helen Mirren portrayed her. I think she did a very good acting job. The end of the movie was lousy. They turned it into like a things go bump in the night supernatural thriller, which a real life Winchester. I mean, come on, this didn't happen in real life. I mean, I believe in the supernatural. I believe in ghosts, but there's nothing like that. There's no poltergeist in the Winchester Mansion or curse. I'm sorry. A lot of it's in her head, which would have been much better as a psychological drama, but she had to work with the script she was given. What she worked with, the materials she performed on, was fine. Actually, very good. And then Amanda Seyfried in The Clapper. This is a stupid movie. I don't know who came up with this movie. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of celluloid. Her performance is lousy. Judy, she's the female love interest. The funny thing, though, is her co-star is Ed Helms. He plays the male protagonist character that they play off each other, and it's kind of a romantic comedy, I guess. It's not funny, but I guess that's what they're aiming for. And again, she's lousy. He's worse. He should have been nominated for worst actor. Ed Helms. I can't stand this guy. I didn't like him on The Daily Show. I didn't like him in the remake of Vacation. I don't care for Ed Helms at all. And he got really on my nerves in this movie. He's not nominated. She is. I'm like, that's not fair. So I'm not going to give it to her. So I decided for worst actress, I have to give it to Melissa McCarthy for the Happy Time Murders, which I think that's the only one they objected to. Like, how can you give it to Melissa McCarthy for Happy Time Murders? I have to, given the competition. And again, the closest I came to was Amber Heard, who was trying and give us a lousy performance. But Melissa McCarthy, I'm not seeing any redeeming qualities with her performance. So I'm sorry. She gets worst actress, in spite of the fact that I overall enjoyed the movie. Now we're down to worst director. Sometimes in Hollywood they give worst director and worst picture to different movies, which is kind of interesting because, director's responsible for the movie overall. But I kind of thought about that. And, I looked at these movies, is the direction really bad? So here's the nominees. We got Ethan, Cohen for Holmes and Watson, Kevin Connolly for Gotti, James Foley for 50 Shades Freed, Brian Henson for the Happy Time Murders, and the Spring Brothers for Winchester. Okay, so looking at the directing here. Winchester, it's funny, the Spring Brothers, I think I hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong. They've done some movies I liked. They're from Melbourne, they're Australian directors. Predestination, I love that movie, they directed that. I don't think they really got the Winchester story, and it's part of it because it's so American. They did a great job recreating the actual rooms of the Winchester mansion, and the art design I give props to. Great job, guys, but they're just not getting it, and it's kind of awkward, when you hire a bunch of Americans to perform in a movie that's being made by Australians, and you can kind of get that behind the scenes, it's awkward, it just doesn't feel right. But it wasn't horrible direction, it just, I think they went in the wrong direction.